Hello everyone, Sable back again with another UPL Week 5 match. This time we've got Unowndragon versus Enigami. I'm wondering if Unowndragon has maybe made some adaptations or is going to keep running the same Mewtwo and Mew sets. Enigami's side seems like he's been running less Wrap, so I do wonder if that'll continue or if he's going to bring Wrap into Unowndragon. But not much to say, let's just hop right into it and see what happens. Tauros lead versus Zapdos lead. Probably both just gonna, like, one's gonna attack, one's gonna T-Wave. Crit's really big, no para is helpful for Enigami. And Unknown Dragon could Hyper Beam, and Enigami could consider catching it, but I think you just attack and damage this. Try to chip it down so you can get your sleep past it. I wonder what Enigami will send it into to revenge this. So Enigami's got a Tauros, pretty good send. Hyper Beam would need a max roll, so it makes sense to slam, and you get chances to get bailed out with like para. So ties it up, and now Unknown Dragon probably going to send out Executor if he's got one to revenge this and get sleep. And we'll see. Blizz Miss is really good if the sleep lands, does not. Just a retry, another Blizz Miss, hopefully the sleep lands this time, but it does not. So, okay, so 2 mulligans, and finally on the 3rd time, nope, never mind. This is bad for Unknown Dragon, like, aside from just the chance that you miss again and get owned, this is just a lot of damage on Egg, but here you've got a lot of pressure, you can maybe get a stun boom on something. Enigami sending Mewtwo, and surely you switch back to the Tauros now and try to call boom. I wonder if Unknown Dragon's going to rip it. Does, and Enigami doesn't switch out and gets crit. That's really horrible, needless to say. It's very hard to say what these teams are going to be beyond this because of not really getting to see sets. Like, I'm curious what this Tauros has, if it's just like Slam Beam, Earthquake, Blizzard, or if there's like a T-Bolt or something. T-Bolt would suggest like an Articuno. Mewtwo set would say a lot, but we are not going to get to know. And Unknown Dragon wisely sending Zapdos after because you expect the sleeper to come in and try to equalize the game. And a miss, so this is looking horrible for Enigami. Drill Peck is still not favored to KO without a crit, but not willing to risk the sleeper here and instead going to try to come in later on Mew or something. I wonder if this is T-Wave. It is. So T-Wave, Mew, plus Egg, plus Zapdos is a fair bit of T-Wave, which might suggest some physical offense idea here, where last is like a Snorlax or something. Mewtwo set makes it hard to say. If this is a T-Wave Mewtwo, then I think this is like a very last Mon WinCon team, which could be, it could be Snorlax and Tauros, with Tauros more being the WinCon, but he sacked it. Could be Articuno, maybe Slowbro. I think any of those are pretty valid. There's other options, but those are the top 3, I would think. For the last here, on Unknown Dragon side, hard to say until we see the Mew and Mewtwo sets. Enigami just pushing, but Unknown Dragon could just boom. And Unparalyzed Zapdos means even if the Mew had healed, it still would have been at risk of just getting KO'd right after. It is in fact a Kuno. Zapdos should just clean up this game by itself from here. So T-Bolt halfway there. Blizzard, if it doesn't crit or freeze, does freeze. Okay. So not totally over, but you need to freeze the Mewtwo. Should agility up here. No agility, Ice Beam. And Enigami just forfeits. I have no clue why. You had at least one more freeze chance versus a lot of Mewtwo sets. Unknown Dragon runs a lot of Amni, Ice, Psy, Recover, which would mean it's probably not going to Oko Kuno without the crit. So, like, I don't see why you wouldn't. I'm stupid. Obviously, the Zapdos is frozen. I'm silly. Oh well, everyone misses stuff sometimes. I just forgot about the Zapdos because I kind of like assumed Unknown Dragon just sacked it for some reason, but like you have no reason to if you have a Mewtwo in back. Yeah, so and like fair enough forfeit from Enigami, but I don't know. Maybe you agility up and then at least you have like a little bit of pressure from the potential of getting a crit and then another crit. Maybe you even go Eggy. So if it's Ice Beam Mewtwo, which it very well could be, Ice Beam does not do 50 to Eggy. You get a sleep chance on Mewtwo or Mew. And this is actually a very winnable game. So ignoring my stupidity and forgetting about Freeze Claws, or at least forgetting something was frozen, you know as a Mewtwo and a Mew, why not go to Egg? Versus most sets on either of them, you do get to force one sleep click. And if that connects on Mewtwo and it has Ice Beam, you win versus a lot of Mew sets. I don't know. You still have like you still would have a sleeping Mewtwo in front of like a 4 or 5% Eggy. You throw the boom instantly, and then Kuno can 1v1 a lot of Mew sets. So I think that was premature from Enigami, and I think that was just a missed chance on turn 17. I think going egg was actually right in retrospect. I think you want the egg in to try to force the position. If this is Blizzard 2, obviously you just lose unless it misses Blizzard. But like play to your one out. Not much to say on these teams. Ultimately, like not getting to see this Mewtwo set and not getting to see the Mewtwo or Mew sets on Unowndragon side makes it hard to comment on the teams too much. A bit lucky for Enigami at the end, but like also unlucky earlier with the sleep powder miss. Hard to say too much about this game. It was a little bit silly, but I do think ultimately Unowndragon getting sleep first was pretty difficult, and Enigami letting the Mewtwo walk into Boom was really what lost him the game. So I rate that more than I rate the luck here. So game one goes to Unowndragon. I'll hop into game two because I can't really analyze those teams with how little got revealed moveset wise, especially on the main Pokemon on each team. Mewtwo and Mew kind of like dictate the pace of the game and what the win con is. As I'm talking over that, something interesting happens. So Unowndragon's run a team like this before. Zam Egg, and the fact that like so he's doubling the egg on the Gengar. I'm gonna assume Enigami is also going to egg. And if he goes back to Zam here, that'll tell me what this full team is. And he's not I think he's not willing to risk a solo sleeper here versus a dual sleeper team. So he does go back to Alakazam. Gonna take the sleep, probably gonna switch egg back into Stun Spore and then try to click sleep or try to guess the boom. So Enigami can definitely boom right here. And if it hits, then Unowndragon's just not getting sleep. If you hit on the Zam, it's really bad because paralyzed egg means Gengar can't sleep it. So Enigami might just be content to sack, but if I'm him, I'm at least going to Gengar if you want to sack and not sacking this egg. Chooses to stay with egg and sack it. I don't love that. So I want to talk about teams. Obviously, there's only two mons revealed on each side. It's never a sure shot trying to predict teams from here, but Unowndragon's done this before, and I would think Zam Egg, Cloy, Dawn, T-Wave Mewtwo, T-Wave Mew, if he's running this, which I think is actually a fairly solid Cloydon structure. I support it because there's a lot of para on that. I don't know if his Mew sets have caught up to 2025, because on that kind of team, I'd probably be thinking like Psy, T-Wave, Explosion, Soft-Boiled Mew. So you have a little bit more Cloyster insurance, because after the Zam gets put to sleep, you're running a bit low on Cloyster answers, especially if it's a Mono Blizz Mewtwo, which I think it might be. Might be Psy Blizz. Inagami's side, he's done Gar-Egg before, and it was Gar-Egg Kuno with a Tauros, I want to say. Don't think I love the Mewtwo and Mew sets on that, but they might have been T-Wave, and if they are, I like them better already because of that. But we'll see. I may or may not be right on those. I would hope that both players are changing stuff up more and not running the same things. And I do wonder what Enigami is seeing if it is another Kuno to bring Kuno twice, what weakness he's identifying in Unowndragon Scout. And Mewtwo comes in. Mewtwo comes in on both sides, so both of them switching in front of the opposing egg. T-Wave from Unowndragon, T-Wave from Enigami, enjoying seeing some more modern Ubers and not this Psychic Amnesia T-Wave, or sorry, Amnesia Psychic Ice Beam recover stuff, which I think is outdated. Both are showing Blizzard. Could be like Blizzard Amnesia Boom, could be T-Wave 2 attacks Boom. Going to Gengar means maybe predicting this Mewtwo to boom here and not willing to risk it. And then following up with a Nightshade. I think honestly, maybe just booming that might have been right. Keeping the pressure high. Going to Mew in front of the Mewtwo is a little wild. If it was Recover, then you would have just gotten your Mewtwo wave for nothing. Back to Gengar, for okay, I'm not sure why back to Gengar. I understand that the egg is probably coming in against the Mew, but then why Gengar? Why not Blizz 2? Why not the Kuno if you have it? I guess he wants to chip and not to risk anything. Surely you boom now, even if you hit Zam, like it's fine. Yeah. So it does end up booming. And Cloyster in Uno in. This is bad for Enigami. Your only check left is the Mew. I think the downside of how the Gengar got used a bit earlier was once it took T-Wave, it's no longer a valid Cloyster answer, and you have to send Mew in and hope you don't get frozen. The freeze comes fast here, which is definitely unlucky, but like this egg had enough health to come in on it, the Mew a couple times. I'm pretty sure the Mew is like uh EQ Boom? Might be Monoquake with T-Wave. But either way, here comes a Tauros, it's T-Bolt, and Unowndragon. A lot of people this tour, especially Unowndragon, I feel like has been like leaving Cloister in front of Tauros when it's the most telegraphed T-Bolt in the world. This Kuno just implies the presence of T-Bolt on Tauros. It's not a guarantee, but there's not really a reason not to load T-Bolt on Tauros if you're going to run a Kuno with it. I feel like that was a very, very, very free egg switch. I think if you're afraid of that, you sack the Mewtwo and go to egg. Either way, like Unowndragon just throwing away 40% of the Cloister HP, and that gives Enigami a chance to win this game now. Like this Tauros could do a lot of damage. Wonder if it's going to be Mew coming in. Okay, Egg comes in just out of range of Hyper Beam, so threatening to boom. Does not boom, which I think is good. I think it would have been a bit premature. And Enigami maybe just letting Cloister in? Yeah, just letting Cloister in. That's a mistake. I don't think that's right at all. Like, now it's a very forced Tauros response from here. It's a little more controllable when there's a lot of pressure to click T-Bolt. Going to Rhydon, and that's pretty fair. I think here, like, you probably click a Rock Slide and try to call out Kuno coming in. And he does. Okay, so Enigami is completely losing this one. Now, the only real out I wonder is if this Tauros is secretly Blizzball and he was just trying to preserve some HP. That's an out. Because if you could crit the Rhydon, you could crit the Cloister. Critting either of them makes this very much a game again. Not a crit, not a freeze, takes 40. Now, there's a bit of a call out question here, but I think like probably it's correct to stay Rhydon regardless. And now Cloister is freed up too. I think you just boom twice. I don't see much of a reason you wouldn't boom this. Except for that, of course. So that's unfortunate, but I do think not super unlikely. There's still a Mew in back for Unowndragon. Surely just going to boom. And does boom. 77% paralyzed Mewtwo, but it does have T-Wave versus a Mew, so it all comes down to the Mew set. This is where you would like to have a more offensive Mew, even though it doesn't fit this team. But it is going to be Swords Dance. Unowndragon really not running like the Psy T-Wave stuff that like me or Ghastlies are running. So understandable. And he does get the speed advantage out of this, so he is favored. I would hope this has T-Wave to support Cloydon. So I wonder if it's like Swords Dance T-Wave 2 attacks or Monoquake because there's a Rhydon. I don't love Monoquake. I hope this is like Quake Boom. But ooh, okay. Enigami just booms and gets the crit, which was like the best out possible here, probably. So good call to go for it, but does get lucky getting that 25%. And a tie means we're heading to a game 3, though Unowndragon is still up 1-0. Team-wise, I've seen this from Unowndragon before. I think it's a pretty solid idea. I'm glad that he's kind of adapting a bit more with this Mewtwo set, at least. Same for Enigami, but like I don't know if I love this particular set of 4. It does feel a little frail, but I don't hate it. I do think the T-Bolt Bull with the Kuno automatically makes it pretty much a lot better. I do want to know what this Mew set was, though. So it's still hard to comment when we're still not seeing a lot of the moves. But the idea is there, and I wonder if it'll be a third Kuno from Enigami, or maybe even just going to Wrap. Lead 2 versus Egg, I do wonder. So Unowndragon going to Slowbro, not playing around. Most Lead 2s do not have a move to hit Slowbro, because they're mostly Psychic plus Blizzard or Fire Blast. Reveals Blizzard, goes straight to Executor, and Unowndragon not afraid of T-Wave right away is interesting. So this is like almost certainly going to give up Sleep now. And if he's sacking the Egg, I wonder if he's got another Sleeper on this team. And if not, I kind of wonder what he's doing, to be honest. So letting Mewtwo in free, I mean, you do have the Slowbro, but now it could get nuked into range of a boom, and then that might even be Unowndragon's win con on this team, so that's a bit risky. Wonder what this Mew's gonna click. Doesn't click. And now I'm going to set up, I assume Enigami is going to Psychic or Sunspore a couple times and then just end up booming to not let this get anything. Probably going to be a stun. Not yet. I mean, you got so much time. And once it's stunned, it's harder for it to come in at all. There it is. Slowbro is still faster, keep in mind. Another Amni. I don't think I love that. I think this is the turn I would have switched to Egg. Yep. I would have gotten it. So this Slowbro now basically dead. Tauros coming in from Enigami, taking it out. And this is a 4v4, but at least sleep is now open again if Unowndragon has another sleeper, if that egg happens to wake. Going to Mew suggests this is T-Wave for sure. Golem coming in. Happy to see Enigami using Golem on not on this Trode Egg Golem team that he used to run, because I don't think that was a very good team, but better here. T-Wave Quake shown. So that makes me think this is a Rhydon team from Unowndragon. Brodon I like a lot better than Cloydon, just because it has a built-in T-Wave. So Egg Brodon, very, very weak to Blizzbolt too. I wonder if he shored that up somehow. Mono Earthquake T-Wave Mew is my guess, with Soft Boiled and Swords Dance. We know there's a Mewtwo, and we don't know the last. So I would think maybe like a Tauros to have some faster physical offense, but both of them now blocking T-Waves with their respective ground types. Cloister shown from Enigami. So Cloy Golem versus Brodon. I think Brodon is significantly better of a team, but it's also 0 booms versus 2 booms. So if this Rhydon goes down, it could get iffy quick. Hard Mewtwo and Cloister, pretty valid no matter what the Mewtwo set is, unless you're Mono Blizz, but even then, like T-Wave helps enable Rhydon. Recovering, I don't agree with at all. Surely you click a move. And I think this is going to be T-Wave Mewtwo. So T-Wave's up. Now this Mew's options are much more limited in terms of clicks. Clicks a Earthquake for really minuscule damage on Cloister. I think you could have just boomed here, but maybe hoping to preserve it a little longer and rest. But if so, I think you rest on that turn and don't risk this, because you could get crit, you could para. Just pushing. I really think you should boom now. Lock it in. So boom from Mew. Okay, so that was Earthquake, Explosion, T-Wave, and probably Swords Dance last, and no recovery, which would explain a lot of those turns. I think like Unowndragon's got the right idea with Mewtwo and Mew on these lately, and I'm really happy that he's doing that. On Enigami's side, it's a lot of offense. Like there's 3 booms. The Mew could also be boom. The lead Mewtwo is probably Psyblizz, T-Wave boom. This could be like a boom spam idea from Enigami. Really looking vulnerable at this moment, though, depending on how these interactions play out between Snorlax and the rest, but that's always a good start. And not looking ideal. So Slam and now Boom is a threat every single turn. And rips the Boom right into Golem. That's not ideal. So Unowndragon kind of losing this, but the Mewtwo set will determine a lot. You should get a free turn here to click anything you want, and it's Ice Beam. Oh no. Right as I was praising Unowndragon for updating these sets and whatever, it's a Recover Ice Beam Mewtwo. If it's Barrier, like this is kind of passable, but I still don't really like it that much. Like why Brodon in that case instead of having more boom support behind this team? And I don't think it is. I think it's just Amni Ice Psychic. So I don't like that that got rewarded. This very easily could have just come down to, if that Mewtwo didn't get frozen, what would have happened is it would have T-Waved the Mewtwo. If it lands the boom correctly on the right turn, this is over. Even if it doesn't land the boom correctly, you have Golem in back, which is very forcing. You have this Mew, which is potentially forcing depending on what it has, and you have this Tauros. Enigami probably should have won this game based on what I've seen so far, unless Unowndragon surprises me and it turns out to be a barrier. But it's not, because if it was, you would have just barriered there and taken the T-Wave and gone for game. There was nothing stopping it. So good ride on from Unowndragon. Like he's definitely playing well given the constraints of the team, but just Amni Ice Sai too. Like that really should have been a loss, and now the freeze and the crit, like really getting everything going right here. Mew coming in. If this para slams the Mew, I'm gonna be upset. Crit, no para at least. But that crit makes it a lot more likely for this Mewtwo to kill it. Could just, like, before that the crit. Okay, interesting. So Enigami just gonna set... Okay, I am confident saying Enigami deserved to win this game. That's so unfortunate. Gonna have to sack Golem because you just lose if you don't. But there's really nothing you can do, and Enigami forfeits in the end. I think you still try to at least get a call out with the Mew, but once it gets parried, it's almost an unwinnable game anyway. That's so tough. That sucks for sure. So feel bad for Enigami there. 2 losses, 1 tie. And congrats to Unowndragon on the win, but I really think this Mewtwo set was just not it. If it was Barrier, I can forgive it. I still don't think this is the right team structure for it, but I can forgive it. If this was last move Psychic, then I am upset. But sometimes you get bailed out on these. Just the game we play. I think Enigami took the right line by going to Mewtwo and trying to get T-Wave Boom on it. I don't think that Unowndragon had many plays around it, so that's a frustrating one to lose, but happens. So quick set, I think combined turn total was like 90 less because it was like 18, 30 something, 36. So like 80 turn set happens. Congrats on Unowndragon on winning it. As usual, let me know if you have any comments on the video, any thoughts. I also appreciate hearing positive feedback, so thanks to the people who have done that. But I'll see you in the next one and finish up week 5.